Hey, I got a question for you. Welcome back to Superhero Speak. I am your host, Dave, and this week I am contemplating a question that has been asked over and over again. Does the MCU have a villain problem? And I've kind of thought at times they do, and I've kind of thought at times, nah, they're fine. Like, they have a formula that works for them. But I've been thinking about it a lot lately, given, of course, the news about Robert Downey Jr. returning, but also because of Deadpool and Wolverine. And I will get all into all of that in a second. Here is my thoughts. So, originally, when the MCU started, we had Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, of course. They got individual films and eventually came together in the Avengers. But when you look at all of the villains from those films, there was a tendency, except for one major exception, and we'll get into him as well, of a one and done attitude towards the villains. I feel like in the early days, the MCU wasn't 100%, Marvel was 100% confident they would get more than a couple movies out of these heroes, maybe three if they were lucky. And of course, here we are 34 films later and 16 years into the MCU. And yeah, they got more than a couple films out of these heroes. And I think the one and done attitude was a little short sighted in the beginning. And it has left them in a position where they've wasted some of their best villains. And it's a shame. So, first off, let's look at, the first villain, Iron Man. Well, yeah, Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, the first two official MCU films. The Incredible Hulk, we got Abomination. He wasn't necessarily a one and done villain. He's kind of come back as a hero ish in other projects, but he was essentially treated as a one and done villain, but wasn't killed. He was imprisoned at the end of that movie. Then we go to Ironmonger in Iron Man 1. Definitely Jebediah Stane was a one and done villain. He was killed in that movie. And then, of course, we get Justin Hammer and an odd version of Whiplash, in my opinion, in Iron Man 2, and so on and so forth. And so it goes. And again, throwaway villains for the most part. And it worked, again, especially when you don't think you're building up to anything. Of course, the exception being Loki, we get in Thor, who was so beloved by the fans, he ends up actually becoming a good guy in the MCU and currently is in charge of the multiverse, more or less. If you haven't watched Loki season 2, you should be watching that. And then, of course, you have the heroes who become villains, Scarlet Witch. But I think one of the things I've been having an issue with lately, let's start with the second Avengers film, Age of Ultron. Ultron has been a main villain of the Avengers for years in the comics, and of course, as an allegory to the fears of AI, could easily be used multiple times. And they kill him off in Age of Ultron in a weird way, where they're sure that he's only in that one robot, and then they kill the robot at the end. But he's AI. He's a program. He could have written himself into any computer in the world at that point and come back. Why haven't they explored bringing Ultron back? Like, it feels like a waste of a really good villain. Like, they did a great job, I thought, in Avengers 2 with Ultron. Um, of course, we get Thanos in the last two Avengers movies, who where he was built up for a long time, and of course, quote unquote, wins in the Infinity gauntlet, and then is killed twice in Endgame. Okay, fine. Yes, they built him up, made him the ultimate villain, and then the ultimate villain was defeated. Now where do you go? That's the first part of the villain problem. Is what I'm getting at. Is they built up and built up to Thanos, and then now Thanos is gone, can never return apparently, and that's it. Like, where do you go from there? And of course, the concept was go to the multiverse and use Kang. He is the logical villain for the multiverse. And of course, then Jonathan Majors has his legal troubles. I'm not going to get into those in this video. But, he's fired from the MCU because of it. And instead of recasting him, they decide to go in a different direction with Doom and bring in Robert Downey Jr. back to the MCU to play Doom, which also is, in my opinion, a huge mistake. And this is what I'm getting at. The villain problem. Like, I don't think Marvel realizes when they have a good villain and they have a good actor playing them and how to build off of that for their next movie. Like, they had a plan. For some reason, instead of sticking with the plan they had and just recasting Kang, because multiverse, we're doing multiple versions of Kang, anyone could have played him. Well, not anyone, but you know what I'm saying? Like, a good enough actor could have come in and replaced him. But nah, we're going to just forget that noise. We're just going to completely shift to Doom and bring in our most favorite beloved son to play him. And yet, we get Deadpool and Wolverine, and we get Cassandra Nova, who, if you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet, I don't know why you're watching this video, but the actress did an excellent job. Forgive me, I don't have her name in front of me, but did an excellent job of being creepy and evil, and it was well written, and it's a villain. By the time you get to the end of the movie, it's one of those villains you love to hate. Think Joffrey in Game of Thrones, the love to hate aspect of a villain. And that is Cassandra Nova by the time you get to the end of Deadpool Wolverine. And it's great. It's really well done. It's really well written. But boom, she's a one and done villain. She's gone at the end of that movie. And the way they got rid of her, she could never come back. And it's like, why? Why don't you see the potential in these things? Why don't you hold back and say, hey, you know what? Everyone's loving this villain. Let's do something with it. But no. And it's also why I'm afraid of. Let's look at also Captain America Brave New World is coming out. We're getting Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford, who is the Red Hulk. It has been revealed. We talked about it in the last episode of the podcast. It's no question he is Red Hulk, which obviously I don't think he's going to be the main villain of the movie. We know the leaders in there. We know the leader of the Serpent Society is in the movie, so it's going to be a political intrigue type thing. Fine, I'm not worried about that aspect of it. But you're bringing in Thunderbolt Ross, played by Harrison Ford. Same idea over here with Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom. I'm not going to say Red Hulk is a beloved villain, like a favorite villain, but he's a fairly big villain and a fairly big Hulk villain in the books. Harrison Ford's, you're getting probably one movie out of him, maybe a cameo in Thunderbolts. I don't think he's got a big role in that movie. I honestly don't, because they would be promoting it more, right? The trailer is out for that movie. Well, it has been leaked online. Harrison Ford's not in the trailer at all. They were filming it at the same time, so I really don't think, even though the movie's called Thunderbolts Asterisk, which I feel like that has something to do with it, he's not, you're getting a one and done Red Hulk. And I think we're getting a one and done Doctor Doom, one of the favorite villains of the MCU. They shifted gears, so there's been no build up for Doom at all. At all. He's just going to show up in Doomsday, be the villain, and be gone. And it's going to be a complete waste of a villain. I think Red Skull should be brought back at some point. Like, he was a one and done in Captain America First Avenger, but then he shows up as the guardian for the Soul Stone, which is such a weird choice. But again, that's not really bringing him back. And you made Red Skull a one and done. Like, why? Like, Killmonger, one and done in Black Panther. I mean, unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman passed away, and that's a whole nother story. But Killmonger was a great villain. Everyone liked him. And nope, one and done. They need to stop being so short-sighted with, the obvious exception being Loki, who ends up becoming the hero at the end. And then there's trying to turn Wanda Scarlet Witch into the villain and then getting rid of her, right? She became the villain and it felt like one and done. I don't know if that's true. Hopefully she comes back. But yeah, like, that's a problem. If you're going to keep making these films and you keep doing this to villains, it's only going to hurt you in the long run. There are other big villains they haven't even touched upon in the MCU. Kingpin, we've only got on TV, but Kingpin could be such a formidable force in the MCU, and they are not utilizing him enough. Obviously, Vincent D'Onofrio does an amazing job playing him, and we're going to get more of him in Born Again coming to Disney Plus. But let's not just confine him to the small screen. Like, Kingpin can be bigger than life. He can be a mastermind behind a lot of things going on. Let's use that. Like, come on, Marvel, get out of your little box thinking with some of this stuff. And the Beyonder, we haven't even touched the Beyonder yet. We're going to be doing Secret Wars. Like, where's the Beyonder at? Why is it doomed? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Beyonder's in Secret Wars movie. We'll see. Galactus, there's obviously a tease about him being in the Fantastic Four movie. But is he going to be a one and done? Where are we going with this, Marvel? Like, if you just keep getting rid of your villains, you're going to run out of villains to use that people like. And I mean, Kang wasn't even that beloved of a villain, but he makes the most sense as the villain for the multiverse saga. And this last minute switch to Downey as Doom to give us a one and done Doom and then be done with the character feels like a giant mistake. That's my opinion. I feel like Marvel has a major villain problem. Like I said, I've been on the fence with this, but after looking into it more, I really feel that way. But I want to know what you think. Does Marvel have a villain problem, and how can they correct it? Let me know in those comments down below. And yeah, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you've gotten this far into the video and you like what I got to say here, please smash that like button. It really does help with the algorithm. It gets the video out there more. And if you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button. Click the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. You don't miss us when we go live here on this channel Sunday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you feel so inclined, please consider checking out our merch store, buying a Superhero Speak t-shirt. That greatly helps out the channel. And yeah, it helps us to continue making content like this. So if you feel like it, link is in the description below. We would really appreciate it. And that's all I got for you this week, boys and girls. Let me know, does Marvel have a villain problem, or do you think they're just fine? And until next time, as always, thanks for watching. Don't let you keep caught in the door. See you Sunday night.